Hey guys, ILene Vick here for Teaching Adult Coloring with ILene Vick. It is Friday, May 2nd, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I am live. It is week 18 of 2025, and in my neck of the woods, it is currently 66 degrees with a high of 79 and the low of 62. Great sleeping weather. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my broadcast. I am here for the next 3 hours for coloring, companionship, chat, friendship, giggles and laughs, pretty pictures, and the what, the how, and the why of adult coloring. In other words, I show you what I'm doing. I explain how I did it. And then I explain the why behind it, the technique. Welcome to my YouTube peeps who come in and chat with me. That is always delightful. Welcome to my YouTube peeps who watch this broadcast after the fact. And welcome to my Facebook peeps who'll see this broadcast when I download it into my group, Teaching Adult Coloring with ILene Vick. All right, let me get some markers out of the way here. All right. So let's see who's popped in today. You guys know that I'm here for coloring, comfort, and companionship. We have a great group here. All right, Maggie, hello. Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday. Happy Friday to one and all. Oh, Maggie, I appreciate that. Karen, hello. Angie, hello. Hello, Miss Sherry. Sherry Hanners. Let's see here. Of course, Mamie, Grace, hi Grace, Janice, Janie. Bonnie. All right. So my format is that I always work on 2 projects. My first one is a buddy color. That means I supply images from my coloring books that you guys can color with me. I always suggest that you pace me on these because you quite never know what I'm going to do. And this one is from Puppet People Jubilee. Cute little book. Everybody has the face of a puppet basically. turned out quite well. And when I'm done with this one, my next project is going to be out of April Showers Bring May Flowers Jubilee. This one is all about rain. I'll tell you what, it's going to be really tough to pick one out. Now, something like this, I would be making a very bright yellow raincoat. I think it's a ridiculously cute book. So yeah, anyway, so we've got this one here first. I need to detail the hat, a little more in the hair. We'll do the background and then we can call this one done. And then I'm working out a symphony of cute animals. Angie, be sure to stay with us tonight because most likely I'm going to finish this one as well. And since I picked this picture and you supplied the book, we'll get you to pick the next picture. Oh, Mary, you've got this book. Excellent. Here's a good one. I think that's so cute with the underwater scene. Oh, let's see here. Oh, that one's different. Let's see. Maggie would like this one with the mice. Oh, I remember. We were talking about doing a picture with apples on it. I taught you guys how to do apples. That would be another lesson. Oh, let me see. Here's a cutie. A mermaid picture. Angie, what about this picture? Anyway, let me know when we get to the book. Oh, these are just so cute. Well, Angie, it's up to you. Do you like this picture? Yeah, I'm leaning towards this one because then I can show you guys apples again. All right. So someone mentioned Tammy may not be in tonight. She needs to come in so I can double check the settings and make sure that she can comment. I looked on the band list and she is not on that. So it sounds like this is a nightly thing. Okay. So how was your day today? Win, lose, or draw? Angie says win and a lose. Okay. So get your paper towel out to put underneath your hand. Lose, I fracture my big toe and right foot. Win, I ordered my new printer. Angie, are you on the HP plan? Mamie, win, met up with friends at a fish fry. You're getting the printer and paper for $18 a month and ink. There you go. All right. So last night I had a little oopsie on my butterfly. Okay, Maggie says Tammy will be on tomorrow. So I had a little oopsie with my butterfly, and when I had this glue, I used the Elmer's glue gel to put a shine on this. And in so doing so, I accidentally got a little bit of paper stuck to the front because it hadn't quite dried. So these are actually paper spots on the butterfly. And what I did is I incorporated it into the design. Oh, I'm not supposed to have oopsies? Okay, I'll keep that in mind. So what I did is I incorporated the paper that's stuck to this by putting the lines over the top and having it have little white spots. So it worked out in the end. But I wasn't quite done with my oopsies on this butterfly because I got a little bit of a paper mark on the outside of the butterfly. So I'm just going to use a little bit of a light gray pencil and I'm going to incorporate that into the background. So my point here is, if you have something go wrong, you should always find a way to incorporate it. That is one standing rule in our group, that if something happens to your paper, you never throw away the image. You make something out of it. Okay. Now, while I'm here, I'm just going to add a little bit of shading here. Next to my hand and in between the legs here. Okay. Now, last night I was working on the hair and we used a blonde, a brownish skin color, and then our gold. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my gold and these areas that I used the lighter skin color, I'm going to color over that with the gold. In other words, I'm going to blend and enhance. So we have our gold hair. And that gold goes over again that lighter peach color, and also goes over the areas that I used the gold in. So Mary says, totally forgot about that rule. You filed 13th, it tried something I'd never done before, didn't work. We'll have to rethink it. That is, if I ever attempt it again. Now, I want you to notice how I'm using this gold here. Let me swatch my colors again. These are the three colors here that I'm using on the hair. Mary, what was it that you tried that you had problems with? So there's my skin fleshy color. And there's yellow. Now, ultimately, As Mamie mentioned, if the image can't be fixed, use it to practice techniques and shading and coloring on. Oh, watercolor paper, had never used it before. Oh, okay. Well, sometimes you do come to the point that you can't keep going with it. But that's very, very rare. My point is, if you're coloring something and you think that it's coming out wrong, that's not the time to give up. What do I always say? Trust the process. Sherry, what happened? Okay, now notice how I'm bringing this gold forward here. And now we're getting some depth, dimension, and detail on what is our, what? Yellow hair. See how I'm enhancing this gold on this curl right here? And see how I'm enhancing this curl? Okay. So now, by adding this gold to the yellow, and also using the gold to minimize our light fleshy brown, it's really making this hair shine. Okay. This is a Starjoy. Yes, this is Starjoy Mango. Now, don't wipe out your yellow curls here, your highlights. Janie, you're using the Starjoy Marigold? Yeah, it's a good color. Now, notice that I'm using that marigold in between the yellow on the hair here. Isn't that cool? Now, it's not called for on the grayscale, but this is where you really make your pictures look beautiful, that you enhance the layout. So right here on this curl, I'm going to add our marigold basically down the center. All right. Let's add it here in the front, down the side. Don't forget to turn your pencil. Now, I want you to notice that even though I'm using my pencil on top of that flesh tone color, which I want to be part of the hair, I'm not completely covering it up. All right, let me go back up to the center here. There's a little more that I want to do right here. And then let's bring this yellow here, same thing. Isn't that beautiful? Now, I want you to notice that this marigold complements the skin color that we used beautifully. That's the point. Okay, and if you need to go back and add a little bit more yellow, this is where you get into your artistic touch-up. This is what I'm doing right now. With these colors. Sherry, what do you mean it would not let you download after the 29th? I don't know what that's in reference to. Okay, check out how I'm picking up this yellow just a little bit more here. I like that term, artistic touch-up. Now, all this time that I'm adding these colors, I'm blending, right? Another term for this is artistic tweaking as well. Hello, Anne Labrie. My favorite part of coloring is tweaking. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. Now I'm going to make a color adjustment in here. We've got our yellow highlight up here and a yellow highlight down here, but we've got like a dead man's land in between. So I'm going to take my electric eraser and I'm going to erase in a spot where I want to add that yellow. And I'm going to add yellow here. That way we have a more logical continuation of our yellow from the top down to the bottom. And I still want that yellow to be a little brighter. I'm going to bring in a water-based marker and add that. Guys, use the tools at your fingertips to do these things. Okay, we've got some flowers up here at the top of the hat. I'm going to come in with my pinks, and I'm going to start that up by using a water-based marker. And we'll start tinting our edges here. Now, this was where I accidentally started to make this flower hair. So you can see a little bit of yellow. That's okay. And then I'm going to come in with a darker pink. This will be pencil. This is actually it's a cardinal red by Color. Notice how I am enhancing that shading. Isn't that beautiful? And then here's a nice light pink. It's actually more of a medium pink. We'll touch up the edges here. When do I decide to use watercolor or alcohol markers with colored pencils? In the case of this flower, it gave me a nice base to work with to use alcohol-based or marker. Let me say marker because I'm using watercolor markers. And I knew that it would give me a nice soft surface for me to come in with my pencil and add my little details on the flowers. And it's a little hard to describe my thought process. Some of it also depends on the intensity that I'm looking for. And I don't know if I've answered your question. It's an artistic choice based on the look that I want. So for example, marker really wouldn't have worked well on the hair, but it works well on flowers. Colored pencils highlight on top of marker. And that highlight can be lighter, it can be darker. See how I've added the darker around this outside edge here. Bonnie, good night. And as Janie said, yes, it comes with experience and instinct. Soft kitty, warm kitty, little ball of fur. Happy Bonnie, sleepy Bonnie, purr, purr, purr. Bonnie, let me pull out before you go so you can see this. Hello, Angry Bear. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of black at the base of my flowers. And this is where we're going to start getting that look of dimension. And yes, I will color that little stem. And a lot of times you'll see me put down marker and then come in with colored pencil and detail on top of it afterwards. And I'm going to use a little bit of Payne's Gray here just to create some shadow underneath the bent flower. See that? Finger blend. Okay, very light pink. Oh, Anne, thank you. What a sweet thing to say. Okay, light pink. Let's see. Anne, you're not leaving, are you? Okay, now we've got a little bit of greenery here at the top of the hair. I'm coming in with a darker green. And I'm going to enhance these leaves. Well, Anne, thank you so much for the blessings over me. All right, check it out. Now I'm going to come in with some browns on that hat. So we need a dark, medium, and light brown. Let me swatch that for you. Here's my darkest brown. Here's a medium brown. There's my light brown. Okay, Angie, thank you. Okay, now as you can see, this is a felt hat, right? So just like the skin, we need to pattern this. So I'm going to start out with my darkest brown. And we need to get that bumpy pattern on here. Now, if you look closely at your layout, you can see these little, or your printout is what I meant to say, you can see these darker spots on the material. Now, you know I'm going to color over these, right? Okay, Maggie, thank you. And then I'm going to use my darkest color in between the hair and along the bottom of the rim of the hat. And it looks like that base will add to the texture of the image. Yes, it will. Again, this is my darkest color. Now I'm still using my darkest, and I'm still adding to my little dots here on this material hat, and that's going to make it look cloth-like. It doesn't right now, but trust me, we'll get there. Now, in addition to, okay, Maggie, in addition to adding the dots, notice how I am shading in our folds on the hat. Now, I'm going to go back here. I was going to make this hat down here. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to make it flower. So, I'll take my water-based marker and add that as a base color. And then I'll come in with my darker red, reddish pink, and notice how I am adding that where these flowers overlap, the petals overlap. And then I'm going to pop in a little bit of my Payne's Gray. Underneath the edge of that flower. I'm barely touching the paper here, just to add in that border and that dimension. Finger blend. Okay, now I'm happier with that. Okay, back to our hat. So I'm using my darkest brown to make my little divots, dots in the felt. And I'm also using my darkest brown to add the shading underneath next to the head. Okay, then I'm going to come in with my medium brown. And again, we're just skimming in our color. I gotta turn this. Isn't that beautiful? Now, I'm going to go back, and we still need to put our medium color on the outside part of this brim. All right, now I'm going to come in with my light. And then back very lightly with our medium. And then back with our light around the outside here. And let's curl this around. Take your time. And let me come in with my darker brown just to make sure I get to the edges here. All right. There you go. And then I'm going to finger blend this. We want to smooth this out. Any questions? I'm pretty happy with this so far. I'm especially happy with the hair. Okay, let me grab my chalks because now we're going to do the background. So I'm going to use my Faber-Castells. You can use eyeshadow as well. And I'm going to get my little sponge tip applicators. You can also use paper towel, of course. It just depends how much detail you want to put in. Okay. Now I'm going to start adding the background to this piece. And as you see here, this image is blended out to the outsides. So her back, part of her hair and hat are blurred out. So I'm going to start with the hat. And I'm going to start with a medium brown chalk. And I'm going to blur out the remainder of the hat. Let me get closer so you can see what the heck is going on. What a concept, ILene. Now I'm going to come in with a darker brown, and I'm going to add just a little bit of that as well. And I'm going to use the edge of my sponge tip applicator. Isn't that cool? Now around the hair, I'm going to come in with yellow. And by the way, I absolutely love these sponge tip applicators because they are extra long. They're 3 inches long. And I have larger hands. Okay, then as I get lower on this, we've got blue, right? Now, if you aren't getting enough chalk on an area, just take your blue and an X-Acto knife I'm going to come in with a light blue and a dark blue here, darker blue. Janie, what's the them that you're talking about? The applicators or the Faber-Castell chalk? But either way, the link to the items are right above your question. Maybe put the links in there for you. So yeah, I got them on Amazon. I love them. All right, I'm just erasing on this edge just to clean that up just a little bit. Now, if you have a picture like this, oh my gosh, pry them out of my cold, stiff hands. That's how much I love my applicators. So let's put our medium blue here and a little bit of our dark blue. All right, let me pull out. Look how cool that looks, guys. And if you're not happy with the shape of your blue, just erase it out. And then I'm going to come in with a light gray. I'm still using my chalks. Now, if you don't have the applicators, take a paper towel and have at it. Any questions? Now I'm just taking a second here to shape the dress. And I want you to notice that I'm using more than one shade of blue. All right. Check it out. So the whole idea here is that we are putting chalks on our areas that are not distinctly detailed in the image. And it adds to the overall shape of our picture. Now I just need to bring down a little more brown with the hat. In other words, you're just hinting at the fact that the rest of the coloring is there. Now, if you haven't done this before with your chalks, you've got a new technique now. Okay. When do I finger blend and when do I use other options? I finger blend when I need to get into more detailed areas. But really, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. If I have a larger area like this yellow, this is where I will use the makeup applicator or a paper towel. Yeah, Janie, you love using your chalks. You've done whole color pages with it. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, on this background, I'm going to use green. Now here's a good example. I wouldn't use finger blend to blend that because it's a bigger area and I've got quite a bit of chalk. You can use a makeup applicator, but the paper towel works a lot better on these larger areas. Oh, is this going to be pretty? Now, what I'm doing is I'm taking my piece of chalk I'm taking my X-Acto knife and all I'm doing is just scraping the chalk onto the paper so that I can ultimately blend it. This is absolutely beautiful. Now, unfortunately, when I scrape my chalks, I tend to scrape them from the middle. Don't do that. Scrape it from the ends, because if you keep going on the middle, eventually your chalk's going to break in half. So scrape it from the ends. Okay. Now we have some little areas here that we need to get into. So I'm going to grab an applicator. And use it to detail in my smaller spots. And you can use the very edge or tip of the applicator to get into small areas. See how I'm doing that between the chin and the hand? Oh man, is this pretty. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a darker green. I'm going to use my paper towel. That way it gives me finger control. And I'm going to apply that darker green in spots on the background. Now, I'm not going to apply any green over here because I want that yellow. That's the reflection of the hair. Let me see if I can turn this so you can see. The immediate effect of this darker green. Isn't that cool? All right, let me brush this off. I need to get around my butterfly wings a little better. And then I'm going to use my paper towel, a fresh spot on it, and I'm going to blend the entire background. In other words, I'm not adding any darker or individual color here. I'm softening up and blending everything in. Okay. Let me clean up my edges just a little bit. I do not have edge-to-edge printing, So what do you think? Not quite done yet. Now, if you're wondering, I didn't put any dark green in between the hair and the hands. I want to leave that lighter. If I was going to put in darker green, I would use my sponge tip applicator. Okay, what's my next step? Grace, good night. Amazing Grace. I'm basically 2 steps from finishing this. Sir Gummy, that's right. So we'll go ahead and stretch and clean this out. Now, why do I use this? Why do I use Sir Gummy on this page? Or really on any page that I've used eyeshadow? Now, notice, that's right, it's to remove the chalk from the colored areas. Notice I'm not rubbing with this, I'm dabbing with it. Do not rub, dab. And you only need to dab where your eyeshadow butts up against your coloring. Okay. Now, if I had the Krylon spray, this is where I would spray the entire piece. And what that does is that sets the chalk and you want to make sure that the spray that you use is a matte spray. Do not get glossy. Okay. Now, I'm considering one more addition to this. I'm thinking about adding a bow. Let's see. I think I like the dark blue bow. Let's see how a gray would work. You can add a softer color like the gray. But I think I like the blue. Guys, what do you think? All right, let me slap some glue on here. Now, again, you guys know I always tell you, don't add something just to add it. All right. Let me grab some glue. Hold on a minute. I've managed to hide my glue container on myself. Luckily, I have replacements. So we'll just go ahead and glop some glue on there and get this bow on. Now I want to get rid of my excess glue on the outside because I don't want any shiny area. So I'm going to use a toothpick and we'll just get rid of any extra that's on there. Okay, now we have one last thing to do. I have taken to naming my pieces when they're human figures. So we need to come up with a name. Now, if you guys want to, we can dedicate this one to Linda, who was a member of our group and has passed. How about we do that? You want to call her Linda? Let me know. I also thought about the name Geraldine. Maybe you're thinking Linda? Janie, you like Linda as well? Linda did have blondish white hair. So it certainly would be fitting. Janie, yes. Maggie, yes. We can do that. All right. All right, let me put Linda's name on here and then we'll call this one done. There you go. That's for Linda. All right, guys, calling this one done. I think it turned out beautifully. I've taught you how to create skin texture. These are puppets. That's what the whole book is about. Put a heart for the dot over Linda. I can do that. What a neat idea. There you go. Thank you for that idea, Mamie. So guys, what do you think of this? Did you learn something from coloring it? Were you surprised how beautifully this came out? Okay, I think we're in good shape. I ran a little bit over on time, but I wanted to get this done, and I will have a new image tomorrow. So I will upload it tonight in the group for you under breaking news. Okay, next image. This little guy is from Symphony of Cute Animals. Angie bought it for the group for us to enjoy. A number of you already have the book, which is great. And I hope you've been coloring along with this. All right, new paper towel because I had eyeshadow all over the other one. let's pop up to the top and finish these flowers. And then I'm going to do our background and do our ribbon. This ribbon, by the time that we're done, will have been done 3 ways. The first way was to color it in like this. The second way was to add the Elmer's glue to create a shiny look on it. And then the third way, I'm going to pop in some ribbon that I have. All right. So I'm going to use a water-based marker. And I'm going to use it for my base color. And then we'll go ahead and detail in from there. Now remember, when you use water-based markers, when you pick it up, sometimes it leaves a little puddle of color. Just take your finger and dab once on it. Don't rub. All right, let's get the other leaf. Notice how I'm putting on the color here. That I'm using that downward stroke. And that way it's consistent all the way through. Okay, another green leaf. Hiding in our flowers. And then I'm going to use the same green on my stems that are in the middle here because the green's a little bit darker. Now notice how I'm adding an additional stroke to this. And that makes that look a little darker. I've got that additional stroke basically a little bit on the center here. Okay. Then we have our pale pink flowers. I'm going to go with a nice yellow center. Water-based marker is fine because it won't soak through the paper, because this is thicker paper. Notice that I'm dotting it on because I don't want to run the ink that's already on here from the stuff around the outside. Now, if it does run like a little bit of it did, not to worry. That still enhances the center. And then on the center here, I'm going to come in with a nice pink. And good night. And I hope you enjoyed the broadcast and I hope you learned something. And I hope you hit that like arrow for me, please. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, now I'm going to come in with a slightly darker orange. I just had to trim my marker a little bit because it got mushy. And I'm going to highlight my yellow flowers a little more. Now notice that I'm not using the orange all the way around the outside. We're just going to spot highlight that. And I'm also going to enhance the center a little bit. How pretty is that? All right, let's catch these little flowers down by our baby chick. Of course, it always helps that when I'm on camera. Now, when you have something like black pen in the center, when you put your orange in, You want to streak that orange from the outside in so you don't pick up that black. And let's get these last few. Now notice that I'm leaving a little bit of a gap between the beak and the orange that I added on the flower. And I'm doing that so they don't merge together and confuse the issue. All right. Whoop, got a little bit of a green here. Details, guys, details. Okay. Now, I feel compelled to put a background on this. And I'm going to come back with my chalks. Eyeshadow being perfectly acceptable as well. And I'm going to come in with a very light blue. Now, you can tell that my light blue is my favorite color. Check this out. And this was the one that I was telling you, don't scrape from the center. Then you'll have two small pieces of useless chalk. Not useless, but a little bit of a pain to use. I'm going to come in with a darker blue. Now, sometimes I add my darker blue after I blended in my first color. But we're going to do a little bit differently here just to get a different effect. Let me grab some water. Okay, Maggie, thank you. Now we're going to blend in small circles. And I'm using my paper towel. And the reason that I'm blending in small circles is because I put that second blue on here. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. Back to my lighter blue. Paper towel. Be sure that you get your blue right up to the edge of your butterfly that we added because I had a splotch of red on the page. And I'm going to come in with my sponge tip applicator. I'm going to rub the tip on my lighter blue. And then I'm going to get my area detail around our butterfly with it. And then I'm going to use that tip to get in between our flowers. Let me brush that. Now, I want you to notice that I didn't really add any darker blue or much darker blue to the area down here. I'm just going to take my sponge tip and I'm going to rub it on my chalk here, my darker blue, and add just a little bit of blue, not as much as I have near the top. And I'm doing that on purpose. Okay. Now we have some areas in between. Well, let me do the top first. Paper towel. And then a little touch of darker blue by rubbing the paper towel once on the chalk piece. Good night, Angie. Angie, I'm just on for 10 more minutes. Okay. Light blue with our darker blue mixed in between. Got a little close to the flower there, so I'll have to pull that out. Paper towel. add a little bit of our darker blue in that upper right hand corner. And I have no idea why I got these little white blotches on the paper. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I do. This was the page that I laid down my little puppet girl on here, and I thought my glue was dry from her, and that's the spot that it left behind. Oh, boy. And maybe that's exactly what I'm going to do. I was going to ask you guys how you would correct that. Give that lady a cigar. Maybe you're thinking on your feet tonight. Okay. Let me take a moment to put my chalks away. Let me pull out. And as Mamie talked about, in order to take care of that white blotch on there, I'm going to erase around them and make them into clouds. Now, obviously, if I do that on one side, I have to do it on the other, right? But it's not an issue because I was going to go ahead and erase in clouds as I was doing this background. So let's go ahead and start doing that. Isn't that beautiful? And you would never know in a million years that that's correcting a blemish. All right, let's do the other side. Now, don't just do straight horizontal clouds. See how I made this at an angle? Now, be sure that you do some clouds right next to our flowers and our egg. That way this whole piece will look dimensional. Let's put a little puff by the butterfly. And we'll put a little down the bottom here, which looks really neat because this is getting lighter and lighter. Now, again, don't get in too much of a pattern. Otherwise, it's not going to look natural. And notice that I've added a bank of clouds on the right. And that way it looks different from our pattern of our clouds on the left. Okay. Now, we need to go back up to the top here. A couple things. I need to add my orange on these flowers up here. Oops, got into my black. Let me clean my marker off here. Okay, now we have all our flowers basically looking the same. Now we have some blue areas in between our flowers that I couldn't reach with my eyeshadow very easily. So what we need to do is we need to go in between our flowers, and I'm going to broadcast for about 5 minutes more because I was a little late getting on tonight. So now what I need to do is I need to come in with my blue pencil and we need to catch up that background. So don't worry if you don't get all of your blue from your eyeshadow or chalks. Okay. Let's get over to the right. Guys, please hit that like button. That way, YouTube will promote the channel. And people will see it in their feeds. Isn't that pretty? And just adding that little blue makes everything come together. Got a little blue on my flower there. Oh man, how how pretty is this? All right, let me pull out. Now, technically speaking, I can call this one done. Hello, Bellatini. Bellatini, do me a favor and hit that like button. All right, so technically speaking, I can call this one done. But tomorrow night, I'm going to add some actual ribbon to our bow that we have on the egg. And that way we'll have more of a dimensional look on this. So if you don't have ribbon, call yours done. If you do have ribbon, I don't know, Maggie, I like Bella Tink. If you do have ribbon, then we can do this tomorrow night. Okay, guys, we got a lot done tonight. Our first project is our little puppet girl. Calling this one done. We are dedicating this to Linda. We're calling her Linda. Linda was a member of our group, but she passed away. I think she turned out beautifully. I'm very happy with it. I particularly like the effect where I blurred out the edges of the image. The second image here that we're working on is our giant egg from Symphony of Cute Animals. Absolutely gorgeous. And again, my last step, you can call it done, but my last step is going to be adding our dimensional ribbon on this. Okay, guys, this is ILene Vick for Teaching Adult Coloring with ILene Vick. Guys, joyous coloring. Love on each other. That's what our group is known for. I will see you tomorrow night, same time, same place. I will have a new buddy color because the first one we just finished. So be sure to look in your feeds in the Facebook group for that. I'll have that up tonight. And then tomorrow night, I'll be doing a second image out of this book. And we're going to do the one with all the apples in it so you can see how to color apples. It's in here somewhere. I'll find it tomorrow night. Oh, there it is. I think this will be really pretty. Okay, guys, take care. Please hit that like button. Have a great rest of the evening. Let's see what we can focus in on here. There you go. All right, love you guys. Bye.